Hello and welcome to Rob from the Internet Talks About Beer, a show where we talk about beer. We discuss beer styles, beer history, beer flavor profiles. We give shout outs to breweries that we think make exceptional beer, and we talk about whatever else comes to mind during the course of the conversation. As always, I'm Rob. Let's talk about beer. Joining me today is a newly acquired internet friend. He's on the bottom of the planet, so if we have to pause a little bit for things to catch up because that data is traveling all the way around the world, then so be it. Everyone, this is Scott. Scott, if you would tell me a little bit about yourself, uh, how you got into the world of beer, and what you do when you're not talking to people like me about beer.
Yeah, all right. So I'm Scott. I'm from Australia, from Sydney. How did I get into beer? I think I just had some friends who were beer nerds. I didn't drink beer at all until I was 25-ish. I think the first beer I ever drank was in Vietnam. I liked Tiger, which is a not the best macro lager. But I had a friend I traveled with, and he got me into IPAs. And then I started going to craft beer bars. And I think actually what got me into it was how lovely everybody is. Everywhere I go, you go to a craft beer place, and people are just like excited to meet someone who's excited about beer.
Yep.
Um, so that's kind of what got me into it. And since then, I've always traveled a lot, but lately I travel a lot for beer. I've worked at beer festivals in Copenhagen and Amsterdam and Antwerp and North Korea and Tokyo. Actually, I didn't
North
work at.
Korea.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I didn't. Sorry, I didn't work at that one. I just visited that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
still, North Korea, really?
yeah, yeah. It was weird. It was cool. I was going to go through Pyongyang for Christmas on a big Asia trip, and that was when Ebola happened. Remember that tiny little pandemic, a long time before the real one.
Right.
Um, and so they closed down Pyongyang. They closed down North Korea, so I couldn't go. And I was just looking for a reason to go again. And I remember I was sitting in um, a meeting at work, and an email came up saying the tour we're doing to Pyongyang in 2 weeks is going to the first ever beer festival. And I just said to my boss, "I'm going to be gone in 2 weeks."
See
And
ya.
he's, yeah, yeah, it was good. I mean, the beer was awful. It was terrible, but it was a cool experience.
Oh, I
Yeah,
bet.
yeah.
I bet. Awesome. So what is it you do when you're not geeking out about beer?
I'm a computer scientist, so
Right.
I do research into kind of mathematical computer science. I write proofs about security in software.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah,
I too work in the realm of computers. I work for a cybersecurity company with the whole zero trust initiatives that everyone's doing. We're really
yeah, yeah,
busy
yeah.
these days.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there
Awesome.
seems to be a big overlap between IT and craft beer people and heavy metal music. Randomly, I'm not into metal music, but it seems like every second craft beer person is.
Yeah, yeah. No, there is if there were a Venn diagram, there would be several circles that all intersect and overlap around craft beer.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, today we are going to be talking about a style of beer that I don't think I've really covered on my show. I might have done one other show on it, but we're going to be talking about wild ales. So for those who might be interested, wild ales are basically ales typically that are open fermented, or not. If they're not completely open fermented, they're allowed to like sit like in a cool ship or what have you to pick up some of the local flavor before they ferment. Um, the, so they're typically kind of funky. A lot of them land in the realm of like the saisons, and I'm not talking like your mild saisons. I'm talking like your barnyard funk saisons. They've got that same kind of quality to a lot of them. Um, and they range in their acidity from, oh yeah, this is a little bit sour, to, oh my god, what the hell did I just put in my mouth? So um
Yeah.
there's a wide variety of flavors that come along with the wild ales, or as the one that I have tonight says, spontaneously fermented ale.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a wild ale.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Awesome. So let's just dive right into this. What beer are you going to be drinking today?
What have I got? Well, I think you can't see my video feed right now, but I'll put it up anyway. I've got this is Wildflower. This is Millions of Peaches Nectarines for Free. It's this year's no last year's version. Wildflower is uh, uh, it's a very good wild ale producer. I laugh because of course the owner's American. Um, eh, like most of our very good breweries here in Australia, was a Yank who came over and opened up a brewery, and they do it better.
Oh.
um, uh, but yeah, so Wildflower has their own culture, originally harvested from flowers in New South Wales. But yeah, this is one of the better. This is one of the member releases, but it's one we always look forward to every year because it's an excellent one. Um,
Nice.
yeah, what have you got?
I have this is Habitat from Trillium Brewing in Boston. This one is actually a blended wild ale. So they worked with Jim Crooks of Firestone Walker. I don't know if you're familiar with that brewery, Firestone Walker. They make
Yep, yep.
really good beers. So Jim Crooks from Firestone Walker worked with the people over at Trillium Brewing in Boston, doing some blends. So this one was wild fermented. They put it in their cool ship and let it get some local flavor before they went to ferment it, and then it spent 3 years in barrels. And then they had like several batches of it, and they came and they blended it all together. This
All
is
right.
actually the last one I have. I had 6 of these. This one's from 2021, and it's a great beer.
You bought 6 of them. Do you always
Yes.
buy 6, or did you just know it would be good?
No, I tend to buy multiples of beers when I get them, because what I typically do, especially if I find out it's a barrel aged beer, is I will drink one immediately, and then I will put the rest in my cellar or in the
Mm,
back of my cooler, and then I will pull one out in like 6 months, and I'll pull one out at a year, and then whatever. So I tend to buy multiples of most beers, even if I've never tried them before, because I'll drink
hmm.
them once and be like, oh, no, that's not that good, or wow, that was great, and then I'll go back and I'll try it again later and see
Mm,
if it lives up to what it did before, or if it's better than I thought it was. Because a lot of things with beer, like with the way you experience beer and the way it tastes and what you think of it, has to do with your mindset and the environment that you're in. So it could change
absolutely,
from
it
day to
does. Yeah,
day. So
yeah. I mean, and the beer itself also changes. But yeah,
yes.
yeah. All, all sorts of things affect that. You must have a lot of space to be able to store that much beer.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have
Okay.
I have I brew beer. So I've got a big brewing space, and I've got a commercial cooler in
Okay.
my brewing
Oh.
space. And then
Okay.
I also have the unfinished portion of my basement, which serves as my not cold storage, as my cellar storage
Mm,
for beers. But yeah, like there are several beers that I buy, and I'll buy a flat of them at a time. So like there's an imperial stout from a brewery that's about 3 hours from here. It's called the Blood of Cthulhu. It's a raspberry cranberry barrel aged imperial stout, and I buy a flat of it every year because it only comes out for a limited time, and I want to make sure I'd be able to have enough for the whole year.
do you say a flat of it? A slat of it?
Yeah, 24 cans.
Okay.
So
We
yeah,
call that a case.
a case. Um,
Yeah.
they tend to call them a flat around here where I'm at.
All
So
right.
I've just picked up the local parlance.
Yeah.
I'm from the United States, and we always just called it a case. So up here they call it a flat or a 2-4. So
Okay. A 2-4.
yeah,
Wow.
welcome to Canada.
Yeah. Yeah. A twofer.
Yeah, twofer. No, I think a
Yeah.
twofer is something different than a 2-4. So,
Yeah. Okay.
but yeah, so there's lots of beers that I do that with, but typically speaking, as I said, if I'm looking to buy stuff, especially if it's from a brewery I've never been to before. I will pick up
Yeah.
multiples of everything just so
Okay.
I have it
Okay.
for later experience.
I'm the opposite. I mean, I'll buy multiples when I know for sure, uh, like a brewery recently closed down, so I bought a case of their Imperial Stout. Um, but yeah, I'm more like I want one of every different thing. You know, I'm more of a ticker than a collector. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I'm more of the exception than the rule because I think more people do like what you do. They try everything, and then if there's something they like, they'll buy multiples of it. Where I'll just blind buy multiples of things. Like,
Mm,
you know,
mm,
um, during the pandemic, when everything was locked down, the breweries here were shipping most of they were shipping to people's homes and everything. And there was a website that was an index of all the Ontario craft breweries that delivered. It was called, what was it called? The Ontario Beer Delivery Index. So OBDI is what it was called. And I literally went to the website and like just hit my scroll wheel on my mouse, turned off the resistance, and wherever it stopped, I clicked on a brewery and I bought a flat from them.
God damn. Wow. Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. I've never tried these guys. Just give me some of these and some of these and some of these and some of these. There was a while there where I had so much beer in my house. My wife was wondering how we were going to drink it all. All right, so I have cracked open my beer, and
Yeah, so I just poured mine. I was gonna wait, but it started to foam slowly over, so I gave it a pour.
excellent. Well, so if you look at mine's got this wonderful color. It's a little washed out on the camera here. You probably can't see it right now because our video feed is not showing for each of us, but it's got this beautiful orangish tinge to it, and it's got the aroma on it. You can definitely tell it's a wild ale. It's kind of got that pungence that you get, that kind of was like the acidic smell, you know. Um, so you can tell, but it's also got like strawberries, or maybe yeah, no, I think it's strawberries. I think strawberry is like one of the main aromas I'm pulling out. It's and a little bit of like grassiness. It's really nice.
So did you say there was any fruit in that?
Um, I don't believe there is.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's normal to get those flavors anyway, but I was just wondering. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not fruited. It's just a wild ale. So,
Mm, mm,
oh yeah, and it does actually say on the label. It says midsummer strawberry for
mm.
the aromas, along with what's this?
Midsummer, specifically midsummer strawberry.
Right, yeah, and
Totally
then
different to the late summer strawberry.
right, it says punchy, nectarine, and gentle funk.
Mm.
Gentle funk. So
So
I do like a funky beer. So
for sure. I've just poured mine. I don't think you can see it, but the viewers can. It's like a straw color, a pretty normal wildflower color. Not a lot of head, but some. Um, Wildflower's base beer always gives me notes of apricot, but this actually has. Wait, no, not apricots, but nectarines, which are not that different. Um,
apricot,
yeah,
nectarine, whatever. It's a stone
yeah.
fruit.
And yeah, they've got I mean, if you drink a lot of wild ales from the same people, you learn just what their yeast tastes like.
Right. Yeah, especially if they have their own strain that they're using for most everything.
Well, exactly, yeah, yeah. I'd actually like to do. So there's not many. There's a lot of beer nerds in Sydney, but there's not that many of them are into wild stuff. Um, but I would like to do let's get a wild ale from these different breweries and do a blind tasting and see if we can identify from the yeast only, like what brewery it's from. And I think we do a okay job of recognizing. I think everyone would recognize Wildflower in Sydney because in Australia we don't have a lot of interesting like wild blenderies.
Yeah.
So it's the one that everyone knows. We have a few, but Wildflower was the first and still the biggest. I mean, they're still one room. They're still small, but the biggest in terms of you know popularity.
Right. I gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny cuz sours are huge here, and wild ales and
Mm,
and things like that. Like there's I mean, where I live, um I think if I were to say drive in any direction for 20 minutes, I would hit At least one or two breweries. There's
Mm.
probably 60 breweries within 30 minutes of me. Well,
60.
maybe within an hour of me, not 30 minutes.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I live down the street from one. I live the other way, 10 minutes down the road, the other way, there's another one. And then if I go like 20 minutes to the next town over, there's one there. And then if I head out into the country, there's a couple there, and then if I go 40 minutes to the next bigger city, there's like half a dozen there. And if I hit Toronto, there's, I don't know, a shit ton there. And I'm only like an hour and a half from Toronto. So there's,
Mm.
there's no shortage of breweries around here. And a lot of them will do wild ales or sours or um, there's one called Nickelbrook that they have this series called Uber, or at least they used to have a series called. I don't know if they still make it or not, but it was a Berliner Weiss was their base, and they
Mm.
did all sorts of flavor varieties of it. And they did one it was sour apricot, and they did one that was like raspberry, and they did like all this whole big line of them. They had like I think there was 10 of them at one point, and then they took and they made one that they called Sunny. I think it was Sunnyvale or Sunnyville, and it was like they had leftovers of all of them, and they blended it together, and it was the best beer I'd ever had from them.
Yeah, I mean the blending is everything. Same with imperial stouts. Blending is everything.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, can we take a sidebar? It just on our video thing, on our video feed.
Yeah.
I just noticed that I'm uploading as I go, and Australia has terrible upload speeds. And I did a quick Google, and it looks like from your end you can pause my upload, which would mean like we can see each other, and then it'll just finish uploading the feed when we're finished. Does that make sense?
Let's see. Where can I pause
So
your
it's so it
upload?
says to go on the sidebar on the right, go to the studio tab, and next to a participant, click the down arrow under input and output, click pause upload.
Hmm. Let's see here. How about we not click on me, because that would. Well, let's see here. No, I actually do not have a a pause upload for you. Weird. Although now you're muted.
Yeah.
There. Sorry. No, there's no pause upload.
Because that's what I reckon it is. Um,
Yeah,
because
and yeah, whatever. I mean, we can fake it. I can look at this camera and go, "Yeah, Scott, that's awesome. Yeah."
I know, yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, it's not really about. I mean, it's cool to have like when we're talking to have the visual so I can see your reactions and see things
Mm.
like that. But it's not necessary because
Yeah, cool. Yeah, no worries,
it's
no
all
worries.
about the beer.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
Let's
Um,
all right.
but
So where were we?
have you actually tasted yours yet?
Yes, I'm halfway through the first glass. I have
Oh,
a 500 ml bottle, so I've got a couple of and I've got a small tulip style glass I'm drinking out of. So I've got a couple of glasses of it here. So yeah, it's
cool.
great.
All
It's
right. Yeah.
tart. It's
Tart.
tart, but it's not. But because it's barrel aged, that tartness has kind of mellowed. So you've got that
Mm.
tartness. It's kind of like if you were to bite into say a lemon or a lime wedge, that kind of like that quick.
Mm.
You get that little bit of that's a little tart, but it's
Mm.
not like it doesn't stick around that long because
Mm.
it is mellowed.
Mm.
Um, and there's very little funk on this, but it does have a nice tannic quality to it. So it's kind of like an off dry. When you open your mouth after you drink it, you get that off dry,
Mm.
um,
Mm.
like you do with some of the drier wines and things like that. It's nice. It's kind of like a quenching quality to it, kind of like you get with like a Berliner Weiss or something like that. So it's like, oh, that was good. I think I'll have some more. Oh, that's a little tart. Oh, but that was good. I think I'll have some more.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, this one. It's funny you say tannic. I hadn't picked that, but yeah, this I've actually got similar stuff. What I get mostly from this is like stone fruit stones, or maybe like fruit skins, like quite a sharp tartness. There's
Yeah.
not a lot of funk in this particular one. There's a lot of fruit in it. Um, yeah, this is actually, I think, different to previous years. Although probably this is the freshest I've ever had it. I think I've usually had it a year old, and this is, only 4 months old.
Yeah, right, right. It's still just a baby.
It's still just a baby. Yeah, yeah. I've got 6 of these on my shelf, because a friend of mine is completely obsessed with this beer. So every time the release comes around, we all get our maximum allocation so that he can hoard it as he does. But he drinks it a lot. But yeah,
He sounds like a guy who I would get along with when it comes to
yeah, for sure.
gathering up beer.
It's a funny thing hoarding beers. I mean, I'm using the word hoarding, and I understand that that can be an emotive word, and it certainly doesn't always apply when you're buying lots of stuff.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so in the middle of my PhD, I went and worked at a brewery in Amsterdam for 6 months called Oedipus Brewing, and I was just doing bottling and stuff. But I kind of went and volunteered at every brewery I could around Western Europe, just to kind of meet everybody and get a sense for everything. And I remember one of the many, many things I learned was about hoarding. And I remember, if we're talking about like rare lambics, like collector's cantillons and Boccarida and Antidote, and like the kind of lambics that are hard to get even in
Oh yeah.
Belgium.
Yeah.
Um, and there's this thing about selling them, right? Obviously, there's a big market for it, and some of these bottles I've seen sell for $1,000 US. Um, but also, it's kind of like really frowned upon to sell them like that, because it's like they're special release. Some of them only go to close friends, like members and friends, and it's like the beer is for drinking, not for making a profit on. And if there's a big profit being made, it should be going to the person who produced the product.
Right.
Um, and so I already had an understanding of that distaste for it. But only when I met all these people did I realize, there's also a distaste for hoarding, in the sense of, I have one of every released Boccarida beer unopened in my cellar right now. Like I don't, but people and it's like it's like I slaved over this. I was only able to make 400 bottles of it, and 200 of them are sitting on shelves so people can brag about them and not even getting drunk. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah, no, see, I'm of the I buy a lot of beer because I drink a lot of beer, and and I tend to buy like I was talking about with that Imperial Stout that I really like. I buy a case of it at a time because it's only out for a limited time, and I want to make sure I have enough for the whole year.
For
But it's
sure.
not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm not like, oh, I'm going to put this on a shelf,
Of
and it's
course, of course.
it's only going to
And
come
that's
out for special occasions or whatever. No,
yeah,
it's like I want to be able to have one of these every week for 24 weeks or whatever if I want.
yeah. And I do the same. That's when I buy a case, it's like, this is a very good beer, and it's also at a price point where I can afford to drink one every week. So
Yeah.
yeah, in that case, I'll get a bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But the hoarding thing I was talking about is more about the really rare, because I know some people who do that, and I don't think I think it's unethical, really. But when you collect really rare stuff and then you don't drink it,
Yeah.
um,
Well, and even the not so rare stuff like
mm,
I'm a big fan of Sam Adams has their Utopias series,
hmm
which is,
oh yeah, hell of a
and
beer.
I've got 3 of them up in the cabinet right now, 3 different release years, and it's like my friends are all like, are you actually going to drink those? I'm like, what do you mean? They're all like half gone. Yeah, I'm going to drink
Yeah.
them. I didn't buy them to have them sit in the cabinet. I don't buy expensive scotches and let them sit there. I buy them because I want to drink them. I buy
Mm-hmm.
these things like the Utopias and beers because I want to consume them. I don't.
Mm.
I'm also the guy that I'm a terrible geek slash nerd because I'm the guy who takes things out of the damn box and puts them on a shelf behind me like this so they lose all of their resale value.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well,
Because
that's good. Do that.
I don't care about, I'm not the guy who's like, oh, in 10 years this is going to be worth 5 times as much. I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, this is a really cool thing. I want to put it on the shelf so I can enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And the same way with beer. So, it's like, I don't know.
Mm. No, but I think, I mean, I was talking about a negative thing, but also like there's so much generosity in the beer scene, you know?
Oh, there is for sure.
There's a guy I know in Sydney, Tony, and he collects, sorry, there's a barfly in here. Ah, he collects all sorts of crazy beers, and he shares them with people, but like he does something that I don't have the heart to do, which I should, which is share ultra ultra quality stuff with people who are new to beer. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's a very good thing to do, but I'm just not selfless enough to do it. You know, if I have this very special lambic that I only managed to get one of, and maybe I'll get another in 2 years. I want to share it with lambic nerds. You know what I mean?
I get that.
Um,
Yeah.
but also, it's a very noble thing to share. I think last night he was drinking a KBBS, which is hard to get anywhere, very hard to get in Australia. Um, and yeah, like just sharing it with his friends who aren't. I mean, they're interested in beer, but they're not big beer collectors or anything.
Yeah.
Um, and like, yeah, that's really. I think that's lovely because it's really easy to be snobby, right, and elitist. We have a group in Australia called the Secret Elitist, which is kind of all the beer hyper nerds kind of circle jerking about beer shit. Um, but like we can be elitist, but also I think there's something nice in like even lambics, which now have this reputation for being a snobby thing. They're supposed to be drunk out of tumbler glasses, like regular like kitchen glasses, and they're supposed to be just drink it all day long beers. And
Yep.
that's really nice that even the most snobby thing actually historically is not remotely snobby, and the producers of these things also want it to be more like, no, you just drink it with dinner, like you don't go around with a trumpet talking about the rare bottle you've got. You just drink it and enjoy it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, it's that way with a lot of like the Trappist ales too. Like
Mm,
originally, those were brewed by the monks. And when people would stop at the monastery, travelers would stop for the night or whatever. They were just given this beer. It's like it wasn't anything. It wasn't anything special like we have it like put
mm,
on a pedestal these days. It was like here's the beer we brew. Have it with your dinner. Take some back to your room with you and have it over the course of
yep,
the night. And
yeah,
now it's like you get these ones that are much like the lambics, the same type of thing where people are like, oh no, this is a super special one and
like
blah blah
Westy
blah.
12, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, West D12. Yeah, oh,
mm,
it's good stuff.
yeah,
But yeah, and I'm a lot like your friend. I have a
good,
friend. I was going back to the Utopias. I have a friend named Josh who had never tried it, and he was not a he wasn't he was a beer guy, but he wasn't like an uber beer guy like I am, and I was like, "Hey, I got a bottle of this. Do you want to come over and drink it with me?" And he, he was like, "What?" And we ended up drinking the whole bottle.
all right.
And I'm like, "Yeah,
Wait, of Utopias.
yeah,
Oh, that's wow. Okay,
yeah." Yeah, I mean, it
that's a
was
lot.
over the course of several hours, but we
Mm,
drank the whole bottle, and
wow.
and I'm like, he's like, well, how much was that? I'm like, oh, it's like $200 or whatever. And he's like, and you just shared that with me. I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't I?
Mm, mm,
But I love sharing, beer, and I love sharing my passion about beer with
mm,
other people too. So,
mm,
it's great. It's great when you have a beer that is going to be um well received even by people who aren't really into beer, and you share it with them, and then they enjoy it. That's one of the
mm,
best things you can do.
Yeah, I love when you meet people and people introduce me as, oh, this is Scott. He's the guy who loves beer, and then they say, oh, I don't really drink beer, and I'm like, yeah, but and you don't have to ever like beer. It's fine if you never like beer, but if you give me a few chances, I'm confident I can get you one thing that you will love. That is
Yep.
beer. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because people don't realize that beer is all of these things. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and a lot of people, their experience with beer is the big beers. So,
Yeah, macro lagers.
yeah, the
Yeah.
macro lagers. Oh, all beer tastes like this. I'm not interested. And then you
Yeah.
hand them something. You hand them something like one of these, like these wild ales, and
Mm.
they're like, "What the hell is this?" I'm like, "Well, this is beer."
Mm. And not only is it like the other thing you can do is you can hand them one of these modern like Tefnut or like ultra fruited, hyper fruited things, and they're like, "This is beer," and you're like, "Yeah." But even more so, these wild ales. Not only is this beer, this is like more like what beer was hundreds of years ago. This is not
Right.
a new fancy thing like hyperfruit is. This is like an old beer that people have been drinking forever. Saisons, it's for farmhands. In like, yeah, man, I wish if I could have anything on tap. I mean, I don't drink every day, right? I don't drink that much, but if I could have something that I just always had on, it would be a saison. Like, it took me a while to get into that style because they're quite sharp, but they're just so endlessly drinkable. You know what I
They
mean?
are. Yeah, that's actually my wife's favorite style.
Yeah.
And I brew it. I brew it at least once a year. I do a batch of it, and we put it on tap here at the house for her. And yeah, and
Awesome.
we've now become friends with a brewer who specializes in saisons, and not only
Mm.
just saisons, but barrel aged saisons,
Mm-hmm.
which is fantastic. So he's I'll give a shout out to him. He's got a brewery called Barrel Heart in Ancaster, Ontario, um, and he does a great job. I mean, the depth of the profile of these saisons is amazing. And he does some of them that are fruited. So like he's got one that's like a blackberry one that's
Fruity
like drinking
saison.
black.
So interesting.
Oh, and it's like
Yeah.
drinking blackberry juice. It's dangerous. And then he's got like a black currant one, which
Mm.
or currant. I don't know how people actually want it pronounced these days, but which is great because it's got that kind of tartness and that again like the tannic quality that
Mm.
you get from the currants. And
Yeah.
uh, and then he actually has a I don't know if he's got any left, but he had a barrel aged goza, and it was absolutely amazing.
I yeah. It's funny like people are barrel aging more. I mean, when people barrel age IPAs, I always raise an eyebrow a bit, but um, barrel aging lambics, sure, stouts, sure, saisons, sure, but people starting to barrel age lagers, and I'm always surprised by how much I like them. I'm like, wait, you don't barrel age a lager, and then oh, this is fantastic. And the same, I've only had one or two barrel aged gozes or Berliner Weisses, but they were all excellent. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you said you raised an eyebrow about barrel aged IPA, but if you think about it, all IPAs were originally barrel aged because they were on boats going across the ocean in a barrel.
Yeah. True. I guess if they're you definitely. I mean, if they're West Coast or if they're totally boiled hops, then it's gonna perform a lot better. You don't want a
Right.
dry hopped IPA in a barrel. I don't think
Oh, why not? Come on.
because it'll turn to cardboard. But
mm,
I'll try it.
mm,
I'll try it.
wet cardboard.
Oh yeah.
Nom, nom.
Uh, uh, uh. We have actually at work. We have a fridge of beers. My workplace, the staff has changed a lot. There's a lot of churn. But we had a beer fridge that we kind of collectively paid for. Um, but then there was a pandemic for 3 years. Um, so we came back to the office, and it was the newest beers in there are 4 years old. Um, and some of them were already 2 years old when we left, and they're not craft beers. They're some of them are borderline craft, macro craft in local stuff, but nothing fancy. And what I've been meaning to do is a taste. I mean, no one at work is a beer nerd, but what I want to do is a aged tasting, like with a recognition that these are all bad now, but none of them are going to make you sick, Um, and I want to print off like a fault chart and get some work people and be like, so this is a 6-year-old Cooper's Green, um, and like, what do we think? And then see if I can get. And I guess it would be like a faults recognition lesson, but also it would be a functional thing of let's decide which one of these we pour down the drain and which one of them we just drink. You know what I mean? Anyway, I think that would be
Right.
fun.
A scientific method to find which beer is actually salvageable after so long.
Yeah, because some of them were terrible, really bad, but some of them was, I think maybe it was just a big macro beer. Maybe it was a Corona or something, and it was over 5 years old, and it was like, I'm still enjoying this, you
It
know?
still tastes like a Corona. Why
Yeah.
is that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know why a 5-year-old Corona tastes like a Corona? Because there's nothing in there to begin with.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. But there's a place for those. There's a place for those light beers, you know. Like
Oh yeah,
I w-
yeah. Out on the patio when you're having a barbecue, when
exactly, yeah.
when you're mowing your lawn.
When it's hot and you want something cold, or you just want to drink something fast, right? The problem with these gorgeous beers is that I want to taste them, right?
Yeah,
But sometimes I want to drink something I don't taste. You know what I
right.
mean?
Well, and that's the whole marketing angle for the big macro lagers is they're
Yeah,
designed to be consumed quickly and
cold.
quietly without
Yeah,
much fuss. They're designed to be refreshing and cold. They're not designed to be these super complex and deep things. That's what craft beer is for.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. But then again, you get deep into the craft world, like and then everything you have is craft, and then after a few years, you're like, I just want to drink a whole glass of something in 1 minute. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, but I don't have anything. Everything I have is barrel aged and fancy and flavored and wonderful. But I can't. It's sacrilege to just smash it. So yeah, yeah. But then,
Yeah.
but then, that's why a lot of craft brewers are getting into pilsners again. I was at
Yep.
a festival in Antwerp last last year, Billy's Craft Beer Festival. Amazing, by the way. I've been to Here's my advice for any viewers: if you're doing beer festivals in Europe, I mean, apart from the big one in Copenhagen, MBCC, which is today, I think, or this weekend. Um,
Today for you, tomorrow for me.
yeah, yeah. It's what I mean. It might be a week from now. Anyway, whatever. Um, Billy's Craft Beer Festival in Antwerp is amazing, amazing festival. Anyway, I was there, and at the end, at the brewers party after the festival, they put on a few kegs and they're all pilsners because that's what brewers want to drink. When you're in that world and you have access to unlimited excellent stuff, like you don't want to spend all night drinking imperial stouts. You want to drink pilsners. And
Right.
these Czech brewers whose name is Siberia, which is weird because Siberia is not in
Not
Czechia.
Czechoslovakia. Not, not in the Czech
Uh,
Republic.
no, it's not. But they were making their pilsners were just so fantastic. And since then, I've been searching around Australia for good pilsners or good lagers. And uh, actually, a few months ago, I would have said, and there aren't any, but I'm starting to find some. There are some good ones. Yeah.
All right. All right. Being an Australian, I got to throw this out there.
Mhm.
Foster's, yay or nay?
Say again.
Foster's, yay or nay?
So, um, I have never in my life seen Foster's on tap in Australia. Um, I
I
don't
don't think
think
I've ever
I've.
seen it on tap either, but
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever seen it in a bottle shop, and if you did, it would be in a weird section. Like, we do not drink Foster's in Australia. It's all marketing. We drink, each state in Australia has its own, like, state macro craft beer. It's Tooheys New, or it's 4X, or it's Cooper's, or it's Cascade, but we don't drink Foster's. Anyway, I have tried it once, and it tasted like every other macro beer. Yeah.
so I just remember. I remember back. I think it was in the it was the mid '80s when they had their big advertising campaign over here in the states in North America, and it was Foster's. It's Australian for beer, and it came in this giant fucking can. That I swear to God, it was like a 30-ounce can. you
What's that in
know,
liters? Let me Google that.
that is it's like a 1 liter can.
Yeah, yeah, okay, yep, yep, yep.
We always joked and just called them the oil cans because that's what they kind of look like. Like you remember the old school oil cans that like
Uh-huh.
you used to have to put the metal spout in and things like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what they looked like. We used to
that's
call them the
hilarious.
Foster's oil cans.
I've seen those for German beers at bottle shops here, but not for anything else. That's funny. But I like that. I like that reputation Australia has as kind of like we're drinking, but kind of like trashy outback drinking. We're drinking out of a petrol can. Yeah.
In the pouch of some kangaroo going
Yeah,
across the outback.
in a kangaroo, yeah, while fighting off all sorts of poisonous shit. Yeah.
Everything wants to kill you in Australia.
Mm.
I actually have a friend who lives in Australia. He lives in the ACT.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's in. Hey, shockingly enough, he's in the computer world too. He's forensics, computer forensics
Oh,
down there. Yeah, so he teaches forensics classes. He runs a computer forensics
I
company.
got a little bit into that a while ago.
Yeah,
Forensics.
well, that's how
That's
I met
cool.
him. I used to do that in a previous life before I retired the first time, and then got told to go
First.
back to work by my wife.
Yeah, fair enough. um, yeah, there's a
Awesome.
couple of decent breweries in Canberra in the ACT.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. I have yet to get there. I was supposed to go there 2 years ago, but guess what happened?
When you say there, do you mean Canberra or Australia in general?
No, I was going to go to Canberra, and then we were also going to. My buddy also owns a house over on the Gold Coast area. We were going to
Mm,
go there and just hang out, but
mm.
COVID happened,
Yeah,
so
of course. Yeah.
the trip got got postponed, and just hasn't been rescheduled.
Mm,
So yeah, so 2 years ago for my 50th birthday, we were supposed to go to Japan and then to Australia. We were going to stop
mm.
and visit my buddy, and yeah, it just didn't happen.
There's a lot of good beer in Japan as well.
My wife
Uh,
has been to Japan before. I've never been, and she loved it. So I was like, "Hey, how about we do this?" And she was like, "Absolutely, let's do this." And then, then the world's like, "No, you're not doing this."
of course. Japan for me is one of those places. Like, you talk about Paris or New York City or whatever. Like, the stereotypically awesome places to visit, and I'm always like, Japan is just as awesome as everyone says. You know, there's all of the hype is deserved. It's such a fucking cool place.
I just want to go someplace where I can stand in a crowd and look over everybody's head because I'm
Yeah.
I'm like 6'3", six. So it's like I just want to be able to stand someplace and go, "Oh, there's where we're going," and be like pointing over everybody's head.
There's a few countries you could do that, but yeah, Japan is one of them.
Well, Scott, we've been rambling on for 42 minutes, and this is the part of the show where we go,
Uh,
"Hey, this is the end of the show."
okay, all right.
um, if people would like to talk to you on the socials, where can they find you?
Um, I don't really do Instagram. I've got Mastodon, which is where we met.
Yep.
And now I've got to try to remember what my handle is on Mastodon. I just opened my laptop to find out.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh shit! What's my Mastodon handle?
I'm Dr. Wraith at oz.social.
There you go.
DRWAIWRAITH. But yeah, that's me.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, and if people are unaware, I am also on Mastodon. I'm what am I? Rob from the internet? I think that's what I am.
I
Rob from
think
the
it's Rob.
internet.
I think it's Rob from Internet, which I
Yeah,
like.
that's right. Rob from
Yeah.
internet at mastodon.beer.
Mm,
How appropriate.
yeah.
Excellent. All right, my friend Doel. It's been a pleasure talking to you. It was unfortunate that we lost our video feed, even though I know it's recording the video. It just would
Yeah.
have been a little cooler. I mean, I've got you up on my screen right now. You're just a solid pixelated block of a
Yeah,
person
you just went from nothing to black. Yeah.
But hey, until next time, I'm Rob from the internet. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.